In this video, I'm gonna show you how I grease my front end.
When I grease my front end, I do it when I'm doing a tire rotation. There are some very specific grease points that are custom to my truck that are easier to get at with the tires off. So you might not necessarily need to do this if you're running all OEM parts because you're probably just doing the U-joints. And if you have a newer truck, you might not have any grease points, but for anyone with a 2022 model year or older, you probably have at least some grease points in your front end, mainly the U-joints. And if you have custom stuff on your truck like I do, you probably have a lot more grease points than that. So we're gonna show you where they are. Okay, starting on the driver's side, I wanna say it's 5 grease points over here. So the first one is up here on top of the drag link where it attaches to the pitman arm. There's one there. There is one here on the bottom of the tie rod end. And then I have one here in the U-joint, one up here. Oh geez, I don't know if you can even see that. Right there, that is the top ball joint. And then one on the bottom ball joint. Now, in order to get to that one that's on the top ball joint, I recommend grabbing one of these things. It's a 90 joint. You put it in the end of your grease gun and you slide it on, and it helps you reach those ones that are kind of a tight fit. Great to have around if you have tractors or other kind of equipment, snow plows, stuff where maybe the manufacturer didn't put the grease fitting in the best spot ever. Now, I like to wipe off the grease fittings. My brother was on the channel like a few videos ago, and he talked about how, you know, if you don't clean off your grease fittings before you push grease in there, you're really just pushing a small amount of dirt in. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it is certainly advisable to try to get them at least a little clean. Obviously, the ones that are like stuffed back in here can be kind of hard to get to. Let's see where. Come on out. Oh, do I really have to rotate this all the way around? There it is. And the ones on the U-joints get absolutely filthy because they're in there and just, you know, getting covered in schmutz 24/7. Might just grease that while I have it this way. And then the other side of this is pretty much a repeat. You just obviously don't have the one on the drag link. So I do each side as I have the tire off. And it just makes a nice flow because when I'm not filming, this actually goes pretty quick. I can do a tire rotation and grease my front end in like 30 minutes. And then I try to push grease through until it starts to come out, and then just wipe excess, because there will inevitably be some excess. And in terms of grease, I think right now I'm using something from Amsoil because I put in an order from them, and they just had a bunch shipped to me. Come on. It is quite a messy proposition doing this. It'd be less messy if the Apex chassis grease boots did their jobs. But do a little bit more cleanup in here. And gonna rotate that to give us the most possible space. We have the right angle mate. Oh, I need to wipe that off. this gets clamped on the end of my lock and lube. And you just stuff it right in. And you'll kind of feel when it gets in there. And then what I've found is, because you don't want to yank on this whole thing too much, take the grease gun off the end, and then I just go through the other side with my thumb and just press and wiggle it off, because it will get a pretty good purchase on there, but then it comes right out. I will hit this with a torque wrench after I get it all back on the ground. I just buzz the nuts on quick, and then I'll hit it with a torque wrench, and then I drive around town a little bit, and then I usually retorque. But it's always the front lugs that end up coming loose. I usually always find one or two that are a little looser than I'd like them to be. Fittings. There it is. And then we got the two that are in a really annoying spot. Come on. So, like I said, on the other side there was 5 grease fittings total. Here on this side we have 1, 2 on top of the drag link, lower ball joint 3, upper ball joint 4, and then the U joint 5. So I mean, pretty easy to remember, 5 and 5. Could be worse, I guess. So there's 10 grease points here on the front. I guess if you were really going to be thorough too, like I feel like every 25 to 30,000 miles, you should at least check your slide pins. That's something else that should be greased regularly, just to make sure, you know, you're not getting any brake stickage. I honestly feel like I end up doing mine every like 40,000, but you know, I feel like once a year, give them a check, depending on your mileage. Coming out of that? No, it's probably gonna squirt out in a second. Okay. Yeah, look, see, there's a hole right in the grease boots. You would think. Oh, yeah. Alright, we're trying to get that top one. Put our dangle of the angle on here. And then, honestly forget which side I come at on this one, because the drag leg's getting in the way. I think it's from here on. I honestly feel like 3 squeezes is probably enough for, especially the ball joints, because we don't have a whole lot going on. Alright, we can get rid of our thumb. And the last one I have to do is the U-joint, and that will be all 10. So I guess if you add in the slide pins, there's probably like 14 things you need to grease, or no, there's 2 per brake. Wow, I can't even do math. There's probably 18. So there's 18 fittings, or not fittings, but grease points if you count the slide pins. Okay, last but not least, we'll hit the U-joint. Flip it this way. Shaky hands. Coffee's hitting. 2, 3. Get any squirt through yet? No. There we go. 4. There we have it. Front end is greased. So when I say I'm greasing my front end, there's 10 points in the front. If you want to do your slide pins too, that's an additional 8. If you haven't had a chance to yet, check out the Power Stroke Maintenance store and grab yourself a Power Stroke Maintenance t-shirt. Also, I'm thinking about doing another run of shirts. Let me know if you have any design ideas or things I want to do. I'm kind of thinking about doing the front end design on a run of shirts from each 6-7 year. We will see you next time on Power Stroke Maintenance. Cheers.